There's Tori.
Okay, great. So we're just waiting for Andrew.
Hi there, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. We're just waiting for Andrew, Tori. Okay, so that's muted, and I'm going to give him a call here. So it went to voicemail. We'll just give him another minute or so, Donna.
Thank
I
you.
know we have Nairi is here. Oh, there he is. Okay, we're good to go. So once he joins, you're free to start the meeting, Donna. Okay, I see Andrew's here. So we have quorum. Over to you, Donna.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order. It's 12:02 p.m. on Tuesday, April 15th. I acknowledge with respect that we are on Robinson Huron Treaty territory, and the land in which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as the Watang. Watang is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. The next item on our agenda today is to adopt the minutes of our last meeting, which was on January 21st, 2025. Could I have someone to move and to second adoption of those minutes? Thank you, Tori. Thank you, Nairi. I'm going to rely on you, Emily, just in case, making sure that that everybody was there.
They were both
'cause I
present.
can't.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additions, changes, deletions, etc.? Seeing none, all in favor of those minutes, and that is carried. Andrew, if it's possible, and you could either let us see you or make sure that when we are voting on resolutions, could you use the hand up just so there you are. Okay. All right. Any declarations of pecuniary interest on for today's agenda? We do have a couple listed on our, thank you, Andre, on our agenda. Andre Riopel for the Clean North Repair Cafe project. He's volunteering at the event, and myself for the Soya Community Garden project. I volunteer for Soya and fundraise for them. Any further declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of today's agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder to for the adoption of our agenda today? Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andre. Any additions or deletions from today's agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of our agenda today as presented. That's carried. Thank you very much. All right, Emily, I'm going to ask you, due to my conflict here on the one of the applications for the Green Fund, because this is the next item in our agenda, I'm going to ask Emily to take over from here so that we follow the proper procedural.
Okay, thanks, Donna. So we have a very tight timeline. We've only got 25 minutes left to get through these applications. And then, as I said in my email correspondence, we have some that are time sensitive that we, if they are approved, we need to get to council by the end of the month. So there are two conflicts. So we're going to actually have three different resolutions that we read, depending on how projects are approved or not. There'll be one resolution for Soya, one resolution for Clean North, and the other two, Downtown Association and Arch Hospice, if approved, will be in a separate resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, starting with my score summary. I did send that out. There's been a couple of amendments. But as you know, can everyone see that? Great.
Yes.
Okay, so we had 4 applications for our Q1 Green Fund intake. Total asks equated around 41,000. We have 64,000 in the 2025 Green Fund budget. I'll explain why we have more at our next meeting, but real quickly, it's because our audit project from 2022 came in under budget, so that money was thrown in for this year's pot. So we've got more to spend. So if all of these projects were fully approved, we'd be left with about 22,000 remaining in the fund for the remainder of the year. And I will remind everyone on the call that this fund is first come, first served, even though we have 4 quarterly intakes. So this table now summarizes the scores from the committee members, and it's sorted from highest to lowest. So we did get some last minute scores in, so it kind of changed things up. Soya, the community garden project, scored the highest, followed by Clean North, the Downtown Association, and Arch Hospice. So I'm going to provide a very quick summary of the Soya Community Garden Project, and then turn it over for a very brief discussion before we move forward with the resolution. They're asking for $13,492.09 for a community garden. This project seeks to move the Etienne Brûlé Community Garden from Captain Nicola Goddard Park to Esposito Park, rebuilding the 22 garden beds that have reached the end of their lifespan, building a perimeter fence to protect the garden beds. The funding is sought to help pay for the materials, garden beds and fencing, as well as equipments and amenities for the garden itself. Overall, higher scores, 3.3 for environmental sustainability, 78% overall average of 3.62. Any questions or comments from the committee on this one? So I'm not seeing any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a resolution and for this project before we move on to the others, again, given the conflicts that we have today for applications.
Emily,
Yes,
it's Donna. I think we could go back and do,
each one.
I want to be careful what I think we should go through each one and then we should come back to do
the
the
resolutions
actual, right? So that
at the
everybody
end?
has a sense just of the various different request amounts, etc.
Fair enough. Okay.
In
So
case some are more funded than others or whatever.
got you. Okay. So we will move on then to Clean North. Again, there's a conflict here on the part of Andre. So Clean North is looking for $5,155.03. They are seeking funding to support their inaugural Sioux Repair Cafe on April 26th at the Legion as part of Earth Week. They're planning a second one on October 18th at the same location. These are free meeting places and they're all about repairing things together. It's an international movement that started in the Netherlands. In the place where a repair cafe takes place, you'll find tools, materials, and fixers to help with repairing certain items so they don't just go into the landfill and you can extend their life. This repair cafe will include fixers who can sew, do bicycle repair, and small household electrical. 77% was the average score for this with a 3.85 average. Overall, there was a lot of support for this. Recommendations for future repair cafes. There was some concern about not getting word out. Clean North has contingency in place in the event that they don't get funding, so they have already started promoting with their partners. There was a comment about reducing their budget by $700 for the food for the volunteers. There was one comment about partial funding, about concerns regarding some of the expenses for an organization that's attempting to support people in reusing materials, thinking that some of these things could be donated. I've added a staff note here saying that the money that they are requesting is for the first 2 pilot repair cafes, and it is expected that this group will continue to hold these cafes over the years. So these monies are for startup costs, just for that clarification piece. Are there any questions or comments about the Clean North project? Okay, seeing none, Donna,
Emily,
go ahead, please.
I'll just one quickly. the only comment I would make is that I do support the idea of reducing the ask by the $700 for the food for staff, and applying the funds to what they need to get going. Thanks.
Okay. Just to clarify, they don't have staff. This is a fully volunteer-run organization.
Yes, for food, the food for staff. In the ask is $700 for food for staff. That's what I'm referring to.
Yes, but the staff, the staff is the
volunteers.
The volunteers.
Volunteers. Okay, for clarification. Right? Thank you. Yep.
So
yep.
they are not employed by Clean North. Clean North has no employees.
Yes.
These are
Understood.
just volunteers. Okay.
Understood.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think we did that for another project as well, that we reduced it by, I think somebody had requested pizza for whatever the volunteer day was, and we reduced it by the pizza cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about that one, or can I move on to application number 3?
I just have a quick question. So if you're reducing the food costs, does that mean you're like increasing like keeping the same amount, but increasing it for other costs that they might incur for the supplies?
No.
Okay, so just taking away the 700 for the food.
Reducing their total ask by $700, which would result in, I already have this here. So they've asked for $5,155.03. That would result in a funding, if we support this, less the 700 for food, $4,455.03.
I understand. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. I'm going to move to application number 3. This application came in from the Sioux Downtown Association. They're requesting $5,198 for their Bin It, No Butts on Queen project. This is a public realm enhancer project to install cigarette butt waste receptacles on lamp poles along Queen Street. As the Downtown Association cleans this streetscape daily, they record large amounts of littered cigarette butts. To reduce this waste entering the ecosystem and waterways, they're seeking funding for the transition of TerraCycle receptacles. TerraCycle also offers a cigarette waste recycling program in which, through this initiative, the Downtown Association will empty the receptacles and recycle the cigarette waste. Funding from the fund would allow them to acquire the receptacles to be installed on lamp poles along Queen Street, and they'll also report on when they were installed and track the volume of waste that's removed as part of the project wrap-up KPIs. Overall project score was 74%, 3.68. There were some questions about this application. I'm trying to look at the containers. So they did do research. TerraCycle is the only company that offers a cigarette recycling program. And they have partnerships with other BIAs around Canada, and they provide an example in St. John, New Brunswick. Overall, good support for the project. There was also a comment about needing some more information. $5,000 for the 4 receptacles seems like a lot, and who is collecting the butts? So it is the Downtown Association that would be working in partnership with TerraCycle to collect the butts and send them to them for recycling. Overall, though, we got good support about mitigating garbage pollution downtown. And then there was a question about, do they have permission to mount these to the lampposts? BIA confirmed they pay for the utilities for each of the street lamps, and they would adhere to any restrictions and bylaws that would be followed. So funding from a staff note here could be allocated with a contingency that they follow all bylaws and approvals to ensure proper installation as part of this public realm enhancer project. So with that, are there any questions or concerns that anyone would like to bring forward about that one?
Yeah, so I just want to be clear, is like from what I read, it's 4 receptacles. Like it says to light posts, but we're talking about 4 light posts. Is that right, or was I wrong in reading that?
So they're looking for money to buy these receptacles that are created by TerraCycle that would be adhered to the lampposts.
Yes.
But these receptacles are designed that you can gather the materials from them and send them back to like not the materials, the cigarette butts from the receptacle and
Yeah, no,
send
Emily,
them
I
back to
understand all
TerraCycle.
that, but like I'm asking, is it for four? Because it says to light post, but in the budget, it shows that it's $5,000 for four of these.
Correct.
So that's
4.
four light posts. And to me, like it's like, well, how much people aren't going to walk, you know, a half a kilometer to put out a butt? They're going to flick wherever it is, you know. So that seems like how could it be $5,000 for four? That's like a lot. $1,250 for each one. I know the costs are a little bit not just that, but you were talking, just so it's clear for everyone, we're talking about four receptacles in a whole of downtown for cigarette butts.
Thanks, Andrew. Emily, it's an important thing for us to be thinking about. There's no question. Emily, do you have any input from we know that there's going to be a change in the downtown association and the structure and responsibilities, et cetera. Does that affect this application at all? Were we able to ascertain?
Yeah, we're still waiting on clarification about that. The advice that I've been given from leadership is to move forward with the project, and in the event that the BIA's situation is to end at some point sooner than expected, then they just like the funding will be reallocated within the fund. As of right now, I see this not impacting it. I'm still waiting for concern like confirmation on when that day is, but I don't
Also,
have it.
I just want to make one other comment, if that's okay, which is that, you know, I've seen people downtown like sort of like trying to find cigarette butts on the ground, you know, at different times. And, you know, if there is a place where they're all in one spot, what's to stop somebody from just trying to break that off to go through that, and who pays for the repairs? And is there any kind of contingency when snow removal, whatever, something breaks one of these off, and now we're down to three from four and spent $5,000? Just that's my concern.
I had similar concerns, Andrew. Yeah, to me, I don't know how many people actually walk, like they don't walk to the garbage can to put their butts in. Maybe you can't, I don't smoke, so I don't know, but yeah, the four, I don't think they're gonna walk to the receptacles to put their butts in unless it's convenient. So I don't know. I scored it lower.
Okay, any other comments on this one?
I will just say that in light of the cost for receptacles, along with the situation in the downtown and the no clarity at this point around the accessibility to the street lamp, I think, while I absolutely think it's an important thing to do, I think I wouldn't be in favor of funding this at this time.
Right. So I'll move on to the last application then, if everyone's okay with that. Okay. So our last application came in from Arch Hospice. They're asking for $17,952.94. The scope of the project is they are looking to replace the fluorescent lighting in their facility, looking to replace outdated fixtures with energy efficient LEDs, reducing energy use. They scored an average of 51%, 2.57. There were some concerns noted in the comments, one about this as being single sourced and should not be funded. Just to clarify, the terms of reference for the Green Initiatives Fund require only one quote for any good or service purchased from the applicants. And so this was indeed provided. There were concerns about subsidizing this due to our limited resources, several comments about not funding it. They have a clear GHG reduction with reduced energy requirements. Again, there was the concern about the 3 quotes, but I've clarified that. There was also a comment about potentially partially funding them. Seems pretty standard, but why should this fund have to pay the entire amount to retrofit their lighting? Shouldn't some of these costs be in their current $850,000 budget? I say if we funded 1/3, that would be fair. So I'll turn it over to the committee for any comments or questions.
I've got a quick comment. So yeah, my comment was this is a clear greenhouse gas reduction. That's actually what a lot of corporations, organizations, anyone does as a first step for reducing their greenhouse gas reductions. So it has a clear benefit in my mind. But yeah, maybe just partial funding as well. Maybe we don't need to fund the whole thing.
Thanks, Nairi. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, was that a comment from Andre? Or are you just moving your hand? Okay. So with that, we've gone over all of our applications. So Donna, are you comfortable if I read the resolution for, start reading the resolutions for those that there are conflicts
Yes.
on? Okay,
Yes,
very
go
good.
ahead.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to start here with the Soya Community Garden Project. Resolved that the Environmental Sustainability Committee supports the requests for funding from the Green Initiatives Fund for the following 2025 Q1 projects and amounts, and recommends that council approves the request. So again, the amount that Soya had asked for the community garden was $13,492.09. Is everyone in favor? Can I have a mover and a seconder for that full amount?
Can I have a point of personal order just really quickly?
Sure.
Just on this one. So I just looked up like the previous park, the Nicola
Yes.
Goddard, and I just wonder if like I'm for this project obviously, but like to recommend that maybe in the moving, like honoring the previous, like I don't know, I didn't read it maybe too detailed, but possibly honoring where it comes from and Captain Nicola Goddard, because her story is pretty I don't know what the word is, can't think of it. I don't think you guys know what I'm saying. So maybe
Yeah.
in the move and in the change, just honoring where it was and that park and the person, I think would be really like sort of like a nice thing to do as it changes over.
Excellent idea. I'll make a note of it for the applicants, Andrew.
All right.
Okay, so are we in favor of the full amount? Again, that's $13,492.09 for the Soya Community Garden Project. I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Andrew, Nairi, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Excellent. So now we're going to move forward to the Clean North Repair Cafe project. So again, this one, we seem to have consensus for removing $700 for food. They originally requested $5,155.03. This reduces their application amount to $4,455.03. So resolved that the Environmental Sustainability Committee supports the request for funding Clean North for the CDF Green Initiatives Program for their Repair Cafe project at $4,455.03 and recommends that council approves the requests. Do I have a mover? Nairi, Tori? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so Donna, would you like me to turn this over to you for the final two projects, or I'm happy to continue going?
Could let's just continue on this way. I'm thinking.
Okay, very good. Okay, so this next resolution will address both the TerraCycle project, if it's approved, and the Arch Hospice LED lighting project. So I'll start with the Arch Hospice. They have asked for $17,952.94. There was a recommendation from one committee member for funding 1/3. there was also comments about, supporting a partial fund. So 1/3 of the funding would equate to $5,900.84, $5,984.31. 50% of this would equate to, sorry. So what are we, maybe I'll just pause there. Are we in support of the 1/3 or are we in support of 50%?
I would go 50%.
Okay. So 50% is $8,976.47.
Well, I'm opposed to 50%. Like, I think like that's a lot of money for new lights, and this just like taking into consideration that this organization in their own submission of their files has an $850,000 budget, and most of the organizations we're dealing with like are working for or on behalf of, like they don't have any budget. So it's kind of like the same issue with the funding the electric uh, mowers and things like that, for an organization that has like a $5 million budget or whatever. It seems like this should be budgeted. So if we did, let's say we did go with half, but let's say we went with a third, for example, we would need their commitment that, I mean, this is just an operational expense. You have to change your lighting generally. So what is in the budget for changing their lights, which would happen over the course of time anyways? And that's not clear to me. Just my opinion.
Thanks, Andrew. Andre, we're really tight on time. We only have 3
Yeah,
minutes
it's the
left.
same. I just back that up. I think they shouldn't be funded because everybody needs to change their lights. And if we open that door, that's all we'll be doing. And to me, the idea is that our fund should fund innovative things, not things that should be policy overall.
So I would disagree with that because it does have like when I teach carbon management and we do greenhouse gas inventories, and that is one of the first actions is replacing lighting because there is such a benefit to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But I mean, like if you guys aren't open to the 50%, then I think a third. And I think Arch Hospice, they do a lot of fundraising in the community to support their operations as well, right? Like there's a lot of community involvement and community benefit with that organization.
I'm supportive of a third, but they would have to commit to the other 2/3, which they might not. So that's probably a caveat that needs to be in there if we did agree to 1/3.
So to just deal with this, should we vote on it? Like should we okay, so how many people with a show of hands support 1/3? Okay, so that's covered. So we will go for that one. And then maybe before I read the resolution, where do we stand on the downtown TerraCycle project?
Emily, just back up on, we do need a mover and seconder. Did we get a mover and seconder for this third resolution yet?
No, but I was trying to lump this one with the TerraCycle one, so we don't
Okay.
have 4 full resolutions. So I'll get a mover and seconder once we figure out what we're going to do with TerraCycle. Or do you want to have 4 separate resolutions?
No, I'm only concerned that in order to discuss something, we let's just proceed. Carry on.
Okay. So how do
we can move on?
How do we feel about TerraCycle? Is there interest in supporting this project or partially funding? Not. They have asked for, again, $5,198 for their Queen Street project. There was concern about not supporting it. So perhaps I can have a show of hands. Who would like to support this? We have 1. And who would not like to support the project? We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the majority is against supporting the project. So the resolution, where is my resolution pile here? Okay, so we're changing this to 5,000. $984.31. Okay, so resolved that the Environmental Sustainability Committee supports the request for funding from Arch Hospice for $5,984.31 for their LED lighting project and no funding for the Downtown Association TerraCycle project. Can I have a mover? Nairi, and a seconder, Andrew? All in favor? Okay, that's carried.
Is it okay if I leave now? I have to jump into
You
another
can.
meeting.
We just have
Okay.
to do the motion for closing. Can I have a motion
Okay.
to adjourn?
Yes.
Nairi, Tori, okay, all in favor. Thanks. We'll see you guys in May.
Thank you.
Yeah. See
Thank you.
everybody.
Nairi. and
We're
Andrew.
done, right? Like
I
everything
just have to end the meeting because we're live streaming. Thank
Oh,
you
I see.
everyone for your patience and all the back and forth. Next meeting will be more normal with our meeting on May 6th. Donna, any final remarks?
No, meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you so much. See you everyone. Take good care.
Have a good day.